DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan here. Thanks for joining us today on the show. We're going to talk about reproductive efficiency of the cow herd. Dr. Lacey Robinson from Kansas State University is my guest. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America. A place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome to Doc Talk. I'm here with Dr. Lacey Robinson, and we're here at Kansas State University, where Dr. Robinson is one of our field veterinarians. She's here in the Field Services Department of the Veterinary Teaching Hospital at Kansas State University. She's teaching students, she's seeing clients, doing a little bit of everything, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, we're tickled to death to have you here as a faculty member, and really happy to have you on the show. Thanks for taking the time out and even chasing a cow off for us so we can use the...
You bet. Anything we can do.
That's right. So today, folks, Dr. Robinson, I think one of your passions, right, is repro and especially cattle.
Yeah.
And you know, I sitting there thinking, we ought to do a show on reproductive efficiency, and I think you've got a really good game plan. I've already got to see your notes on talking about reproductive efficiency, and kind of tell me a little bit about what your vision or thought process is.
Sure. Well, as a producer, you know, it's one of those things that's super important to us, and we fully recognize the value of it to your bottom line, because what it really means, reproductive efficiency to me, is the timeliness of getting that cow bred back and making sure she has a healthy calf every 12 months. And so that's important to everybody, right? Whether you have 2 cows or 2,000 cows, you know, getting that live calf on the ground is really what matters. You can have a lot of different marketing goals and whatnot after that, but if you don't get a live baby, you know, you're really going to impact the gross income of that operation. So for me, that's why it's really important to concentrate on, and why I'm glad I'm here to talk about it today.
I heard Vincent Traffus up at Smith Center give a talk one time about keeping records, and he said he quit keeping records because he'd never had a client cull a bred cow.
Okay.
Well, you know, I mean, there's different levels of producers, but to your point, that if she's got a calf in her.
Right. And you know, keeping that window of calving tighter and not letting that calving season get extended, I think is also really important for the uniformity of the calf crop, and you know, the marketing options that you have for them increases, I feel like. So even if she's bred, maybe there's sometimes reasons to think about letting that one go, but yeah, you're right. Everybody's at a different place with that, but it's important to us all.
Yeah, and if we don't have calves, we don't have you know, before we get into this, you know, obviously you do a lot of pregnancy testing too.
Yep, that's one of the most fun things we do here at K-State.
And you know, the value that the practitioner brings to that producer of being able to establish that those cows are bred.
Yeah, I think it's huge, and especially in years like this where we're in a drought situation, resources are limited. You know, I think identifying those open cows sooner and getting those off your pasture, maybe even considering early weaning in these circumstances, is really important to keeping operations going. So for me, I think that making sure you get preg checks in and doing it in a timely fashion can be huge for profitability.
Well, we're going to take a break. I think it's very important what you said. Drought situations, we have limited resources going through the winter. Hay's hard to find. You know, maintaining cows that are open probably isn't going to be in the cards this year, and lots to come. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dr. Robinson about some of the things that she sees to making sure that we have improved reproductive efficiency of your cow herd. You're watching DocTalk, and we'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome to our Cattle First Minute. I'm Dr. Dan here, and thanks to Boehringer Ingelheim Vet Medica for sponsoring this. When we think about vaccination and vaccinating calves in the fall, or vaccinating your cows in the fall, or summer, or spring, it doesn't matter what time of year, we've got to treat vaccines responsibly. Because if you don't, that modified live vaccine becomes a modified dead vaccine. We want to make sure we keep it out of the sunlight. We want to make sure that we keep it cool. We want to make sure that you don't mix up more vaccine that you're going to utilize than what you would utilize in an hour. And when you do, make sure you put it in that cooler that keeps it dark and keeps it cool. All of these things, understanding that the syringes have to be clean so that these products work well. Putting a vaccine that is not efficacious into an animal means you vaccinate the animal, but you don't immunize the animal. And understanding that there's a difference between immunization and vaccination is important for Cattle First.
When you're in the cattle business, no matter how much it's a business, it still starts with cattle. It's this basic notion that sits at the core of how we approach things at Boehringer Ingelheim. We understand when you put the cattle first, it just naturally leads to doing the right things. If you want to do well in this business, you start by doing right. Take care of the cattle, and they'll take care of you.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Lacey Robinson. They told me to quit swiveling in this chair. I'm going to try. Dr. Robinson is an assistant clinical professor here at Kansas State University. She is part of our veterinary livestock services team and a great asset to our teaching and to our service here at Kansas State University. We're talking about reproductive efficiency. So break it down.
Yeah.
I know you've got it kind of two parts.
Yeah, I really feel like there's two major things that govern reproductive efficiency in a beef cow herd. And it really comes down to that postpartum interval, which basically just means that time frame from when the cow calves to when she starts cycling again and can be, able to be bred. And then also the conception rate. If they're not cycling, we can't get them bred. So I really think those two things are areas where we can hopefully, from a management perspective, sort of impact those and make those work to our advantage. So getting her cycling again, and then the conception rate, when we're trying to get her bred.
So when we're trying to shorten up that anestrus, it isn't something that just starts right when the cow calves, is it?
Not really. The one thing about it is I think body condition score and nutrition is super important for getting those cows back on track. There's quite a few things that impact how quickly she's going to start cycling, body condition score being one of those. And so I recommend to producers to evaluate that probably 90 days before calving, so that way you're not too late in the game where you can't impact it. So you could sort off the thin cows at that time, give them some extra groceries, and hopefully get them back up to, mature cows. We like to see them at a 5.5 to a 6 body condition score. heifers 6 to 6.5 would be ideal. So that's one area that I think producers can really impact shortening that window, because there's some data out there that says if your cows are more in a 4 body condition score, then that anestrus period can be up to about 80 days. Whereas if they're in a 6, then you're more likely to get that down to about 55 days. So really that amount of time, that 30 days, can be crucial.
Yep. So they need to be looking at cows, making sure that we have them proper body condition score, working with their co-op, their nutritionist, even the veterinarian.
Absolutely.
Can do
veterinarian,
body condition
great
score.
resource on
we
that.
actually have,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, all kidding aside, a lot of veterinarians are going out and getting that extra training in nutrition to provide that added service in their practice. So while we've always had this banter between nutritionists and veterinarians, there are some veterinarians that are
absolutely equipped to help in that area. So don't be afraid to fully utilize your veterinarian in a lot of ways. The other thing that can impact the anestrus period is, of course, if they had a calving difficulty. So maybe noting which ones you maybe had to help, that had a difficult pull or something like that. Those are maybe going to need extra time. Also, just the general health of the cow. You know, if it's a cow that is getting older in age, and so she was thinner in her body condition score, or a younger heifer who we know need at least 30 to 45 more days in that anestrus period, just kind of factoring that in. So with your first calf heifers, you know, having those calve a month before your cows start for many reasons is a good plan. And one of those is so you can keep them on track to stay in the herd.
Gotcha.
So that anestrus period isn't too extended. So
that's a great point. I always thought about the heifers not having as strong as colostrum and scours and having those calves first and things like that, but then to think about the added time to make sure you keep those heifers in the herd.
I think it's really important for them to get a good start.
Good. Yeah. Well, we'll do the second half of reproductive efficiency when we come back from these messages. You're watching DocTalk. Thanks for joining us.
Some call it a come from behind victory, an unlikely win, a reversal of fortune, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This is our moment, our victory dance, because we choose confidence. We choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ask your veterinarian to prescribe Zuprevo. Zuprevo is a fast-acting, long-lasting BRD treatment that you can count on to get the job done. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo from Merck Animal Health.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
When you're in the cattle business, no matter how much it's a business, it still starts with cattle. It's this basic notion that sits at the core of how we approach things at Boehringer Ingelheim. We understand when you put the cattle first, it just naturally leads to doing the right things. If you want to do well in this business, you start by doing right. Take care of the cattle, and they'll take care of you.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Lacey Robinson. We're at Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine, where Dr. Robinson serves as one of our veterinarians here in our livestock services program, where she's teaching students in the classroom, teaching students out in the field, and also coming out to your farm to see your cows and your bulls and different things within your herd. Reproductive efficiency. We talked about shortening anestrus. Second half is?
The conception rate is really important. So setting those cows up for success, and so making sure that you've done everything on your end you can to make sure that they're fertile and that they've got every chance they can to get pregnant. And missing heat cycles, like if you want to do a synchronization program so that you can really dial in your resources for heat detection and AI and that kind of thing, I think really can be beneficial. So CEDARS and MGA and all those kind of things have really made managing synchronization a lot easier. So if that's something a producer has the capability and wants to do, I think that can be huge for increasing and boosting conception rates, because you're just doing a better job of catching them in heat, hopefully getting them bred in a timely manner. And so I think that can be really helpful. Not to hit too much on the body condition part, but I think it's also really important for fertility. So having them in the right condition at calving, really important, but also when you start the breeding season. So you don't want to let them, when during lactation, those definitely those demands go higher, so you want to make sure they've had the proper level of nutrition and that they're not going backwards from calving to breeding. That can really have a detrimental effect on your overall conception rate.
Yeah, and when we get into this, we talk about fetal programming and different things like that, and really it gets back to enough energy, enough protein, vitamins and minerals to match the physiological stage that the cow's in.
Right, absolutely. So it's not just you're evaluating that once a season or something. You need to really have your eyes on them all year round, making sure that body condition is staying where it needs to be and adjusting your mineral program or your nutrition program appropriately. So.
Yeah, we start thinking about third trimester, beginning of early lactation, the energy drain during that time. And if you're behind on body condition score going into lactation,
you can't make it up.
Now you've thrown everything back. But I think it makes perfect sense what you're saying. Let's get them to cycle sooner to keep them on track for a year. And then when they cycle, they've got to stick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that's important to remember, the veterinarian perspective, of course, but is the importance of a good health program. So that to me means vaccinations are done in a timely manner. There's data out there to suggest you don't want to be giving them modified live vaccines any closer than 30 days prior to the breeding season starting. But you want to make sure the heifers that you're adding to your program really have the right vaccinations leading up to breeding so that they're protected from those viruses that can cause, early embryonic death and abortions and whatnot. And of course, anaplasmosis and lepto, and there's just definitely consult your veterinarian on having a solid program because that's very important too. And the bulls need to make sure they're fertile and you have enough bull power out there to get the job done.
Yeah, this show's seen all around the United States, and we definitely want them to work with their local veterinarian because bugs that you have down on the coast are different than what we have in the Midwest and different than what we see in Montana. And
absolutely.
So we just keep working on it. Well, let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll do a wrap-up here with Dr. Lacey Robinson.
We got Sammy, and then my husband died, and she was everything for Kira. That's why she's more than a horse to us, and why it was so important that we try and do everything we can to get her healed.
There's plate-rich fibrin's been out there a long time, but the way we've designed and patented it is completely different. There's nothing like it on the market. And because we're able to develop ourselves, we can now offer it to veterinarians for a very reasonable price. Not only do we conceive, develop, and patent our own products, but all our products is backed 100% by science. We usually, almost in every case, have taken them to Kansas State University, and they do our trials for us. They do our science behind it, because we want you to know that it's just not another product. We're in this for the long run.
The difference that I saw on that horse from 45 days ago, the depressed look, the dull hair coat, that horse was walking on eggs. That mother and daughter thought that it might be the last time they see that mare. 45 days later, the hair coat, the attitude of the horse, the set of the ears, the unimpeded gait, and the actual look and the heel even shocks me. And I had a lot of confidence that it would work.
Everything that they've done, all of the people who have been a part of this situation, I cannot thank enough. And I'm so grateful.
It has been a very long journey. I just wanted her to be able to be a horse again, and to be able to even ride her anymore is just amazing.
To watch Kira ride that horse, I have to tell you, anything about business or politics or universities or our company, it goes out the window. We gave that girl her friend back, and we did it because we know what regenerative medicine can do if you'll use it and just get out of its way and let it do what it does.
Some call it a come-from-behind victory, an unlikely win, a reversal of fortune, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This is our moment, our victory dance, because we choose confidence. We choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ask your veterinarian to prescribe Zuprevo. Zuprevo is a fast-acting, long-lasting BRD treatment that you can count on to get the job done. Choose confidence. Choose Suprevo from Merck Animal Health.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson and Dr. Lacey Robinson. We're from Kansas State University. We're glad you joined us today, and we're talking about reproductive efficiency. And when we talk about repro efficiency, you know, I think we've done a good job of talking about how to get those cows back cycling, get them bred, and then you have some potential selection tools maybe for people to think about.
I really think that now is the best time, because historically it's been pretty hard to evaluate fertility in a cow herd, and we've got great tools for EPDs as far as selection for growth and carcass traits, but we haven't made as much progress in the area of fertility and some of those functional traits that maybe we would like to see, because they're just harder to measure and it takes more time. But now with the advent of the associations, many of them having like a heifer pregnancy EPD, which basically is a percentage, so it's an evaluation of a sire's daughters, what percentage of them should get pregnant in a given breeding season. So the higher the percentage, the more likely that heifer is to conceive. And so we're collecting that kind of information now, and hopefully we can start to make bigger strides in improving in those areas. And
that's pretty cool.
I know, I really am stoked about it. And then you add to it the stayability EPDs, which are more a measure of the cows staying in the herd, right? Because that's a measure out 6 years that calf is having a cow is having a calf every year for 6 years in a row, and we know that it takes sometimes up to 5 calves for a cow to really pay for herself, and so that's crucial information for the profitability of an operation. And so with stayability and heifer pregnancy, even though those are harder to make progress in because they're not quite as heritable as some of our growth traits, I still think it's worth some emphasis, and I hope producers will start taking a look at those numbers when they select their bulls, or even females they want to add to their program.
Yeah, it sounds like a consumer report on
there's just so much information. And then you add to it the advent of genomics, and that helps increase our accuracy, especially on those younger cattle, because of course the stayability EPD, I mean that bull's got to be 8 years old, right, before he's really been proven to know that his daughters stay in a herd for 6 years. Well, with the advent of genomics, we can know that information a little bit sooner. I mean, it's not perfect yet, but I think that it's a really important tool as well. So when you combine the EPDs and the genomics, it's giving us a lot more information to work with than we've ever had.
It's just amazing how bright people are that are within our breed organizations and companies that are outside the breed organizations that you and I work with, that are really like Sally Northcutt.
Yes, absolutely.
And, is making a huge difference in how we select animals and bring them in the herd, not only for bulls, but for heifers.
Oh yeah, and I think it's going to make a huge impact ultimately. And you want to make sure that your genetics match your environment and your management style. So you don't want to maybe select the bulls that have the highest growth or the highest milk EPDs if you have limited resources or limited labor. You're just going to set yourself up for more failure in the repro category, because it's at the last thing that they want to put energy towards is reproduction. So they're going to fulfill it in every other way possible before that. So make sure that when you're out there selecting those genetics, you're looking at the full picture and doing what's best for your operation.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I hope you'll come back.
You bet.
Folks, thanks for watching the show. We hope you'll come back. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian, and if you want to know what we do at DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Lacey Robinson. You're watching DocTalk, and we'll see you down the road.
DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America, a place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.